Spergel. I'm the Bluebeam Certified Support Representative and Instructor here at Microsol Resources. And today we're going to be talking about Bluebeam Studio. I'm going to go over some of the ways that customers are using Studio, as well as discussing some of the Studio features. So as mentioned at the top of the presentation, collaboration in Revu is done through Bluebeam Studio, which is an integrated cloud-based collaboration solution. Now, there are two parts to the Studio platform. There are Studio Sessions, which is a real-time system for collaborating on PDFs. It lets you and other collaborators place markups in real time, and you can see what everyone is doing. And Studio Projects is a document management system that helps control and track document versions across the project. It also offers anytime, anywhere access to any document type through the cloud. So Bluebeam Studio is being used today by customers to streamline workflows throughout the project lifecycle. One example of this is doing a constructability review. In that example, PDF drawings at each milestone are uploaded to a Studio session so that assigned team members can review them in real time. During the review, team members can view everyone's comments as they're placed, allows them to respond to each other, and provides more thorough feedback to the design team. So when the review period is over, the session closes and comments are exported to Excel, for example, and the marked up drawings are sent back to the design team for revision. So because the review is done concurrently by all the team members, you get a better quality list and everyone is on the same page. So one case study of the use of Bluebeam Studio is the Rudolph and Sletton firm. They use Studio for their constructability review of the 700,000 square foot San Diego Central Courthouse. It ended up cutting their review time to 4.6 weeks from 6.6 and reduced their reproduction and shipping costs by 63%, which is pretty significant. In the end, they produced a more accurate, higher quality estimate for the client, which saves them time and money in the long run. So that's just one quick example of how Studio can be used to streamline your processes. So the first thing that I want to go over are the differences between Studio Sessions and Studio Projects. So Bluebeam Studio as a whole is a powerful solution for document collaboration. It allows you to manage projects digitally from start to finish, anywhere at any time. So Studio Projects, you can store and share an unlimited number of PDFs and any other file type in the cloud. So you can manage access rights for project collaborators. You can check in, check out those files. And you also get revision history and version control. With Studio Sessions, you collaborate in real time with project collaborators around the world to mark up the same 2D or 3D PDFs together. Slightly different. And they're kind of related, but we'll go more in depth into the details on this next slide. So the way I like to kind of think about it is I would compare Studio Projects to something like a Dropbox or the network drive. It's really just a repository for your project files. You can set up folder systems, but really it's for file storage and for revision control. So it works on a check-in, check-out system, which we'll go into in more detail in a little bit. And you can see on the screen, unlimited participant counts, as well as unlimited files of any type. Of course, you could only open PDFs within Bluebeam, but you can still store whatever kind of file you would like. On the other hand, what I would compare sessions to would be, printing out from a large format printer. You get a big blueprint, gather around the conference room table. Everyone grabs a different colored highlighter and starts, circling things or marking up the blueprint, all in the same room. So that's kind of what a session is like. So everyone could work on the same PDF or PDFs simultaneously. You do have a participant limit of 500. And a limit of 5,000 PDFs or up to 1 gigabyte each. I haven't heard of anyone ever hitting the limit on that, but if you do, let me know. That I'm very impressed. And it only supports PDFs, so you cannot upload a Word document to a session. You can upload a Word document to a project. So just a few distinctions that I wanted to make. before I go into how to get into Studio. And now I'm going to switch to Review and show you that. So let's pop this open over here. So how to get to Bluebeam Studio. The first thing you want to do is you want to get to the Studio panel. In this case, mine is on the left-hand panel toolbar. If you do not see it, right-click on the panels, go to Show, and make sure that Studio is selected. All right, so just make sure that that is there. And once you do, you can click it to fly out the panel. And if you have not signed in before, you'll see this option to letting you sign in. Go ahead and click that. If you have not created a Studio account before, you can do so easily from this interface by clicking on the Create Account button, which will let you create it just right there in the dialog box. But since I already have an account, I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. So, let's see if I get it on the first try. Nice. Going to be a good webinar today. Okay, so now I am in the Studio interface. So there are two buttons up top. The one on the left represents Studio projects, and the one on the right represents Studio sessions. On each of these tabs, you'll notice that there are sub-tabs for joined and not joined. Joined represents projects that you have joined and are a member of, and not joined represents projects that you have been invited to, but not haven't joined yet. So we're going to start with, oh, hold on one second, sorry. Yeah. So we're going to start going over Studio projects. So I'm going to start by opening up my demo project for demonstration purposes, and that will take me to the Studio project screen. You see I have a folder. There are subfolders. These are some Word documents. So like I said, you can upload any kind of document type to a Studio project. Of course, if I open this, it will open up in Microsoft Word, which makes sense. To add additional files or folders, you can go to the top right and select Add, which will let you either create a new folder, upload files, or upload folders. If there are any subfolders in the folders that you upload, it will maintain the integrity of your folder structure. So if you already have projects hosted on a network drive and you wanted to put them on up to Studio, you can just upload the folder whole cloth and it will maintain those relationships. So under Actions, you'll have the option to sync. Now, syncing basically will update manually update all of the anything that's happened in the project since you opened it. Because of how much data goes back and forth, Studio projects doesn't sync automatically all the time. So sometimes you have to sync manually. Really only an issue if you have large projects. And if I wanted to create a new Studio project, I would simply click this plus button for add. And then I have the option to join an existing project or join a new project. So let's start a new project. Let's call this 512 webinar project. And just like before, same interface with no files or folders yet. If I wanted to invite my colleagues to the project, I can click on this invite button, which will open up this invite dialog box. So there's a few different ways you can send an invitation. You can type or paste in emails, which is basically just copy paste from Outlook or something like that. You can create groups, which are different groups of users with different emails, or you can pull them from an address book from Outlook. So a number of different ways to add different users. So you can send to up to 100 emails at a time. Any more than that, and you'll have to split that up into additional invites. That's just a server limitation. Yeah, so if you have more than 100 that you want to invite at a time, you may have to break that up. Now, going over to the settings tab, you can see over here is the documents tab and the settings tab. Opening up the settings, first you get general options for the name, project ID, etc. And then we get to the user access tab. What's nice about the user access tab is that it lets you get pretty granular about who can join and who can't. If I have this restrict users option checked, that means that only people who I've invited via email can join the project. If I uncheck that, click apply, then any user can join the project by entering the project ID. So 894716370. You can click on join and enter the studio ID there, and you'll be able to join the project. If anyone wants to go ahead and join the project, by all means, go ahead. The ID is 894716370. There's nothing in here right now, but if you just wanted to come in and poke around, by all means, go ahead. So going over to the permissions tab, these are the levels of permissions that I am able to set for users and groups that I invite to the project. So by default, attendees will have all of these set to off. But you can go in there and you can set that to however you want. In addition to user-based permissions, you also can set folder-based permissions. So this would be based on certain folders or files that you might want to restrict access to, and that would kind of make it easier to manage certain different files that you would want to restrict. So let me show you in my demo project. Go over here. So you can see that I can set these permissions via the folder. Right now, it's just set to inherit from the parent, but I can get pretty granular on which folders I can provide access to. Okay, so now that I'm in my studio project, I've uploaded some files, some folders. Let's take a look at one of these files. Let me open up my, I'm going to open up my markups file. And what that'll do is that'll open up in another tab up here. Okay, and so this is my markups file. Let's add a cloud here. Okay, so I'm done marking up my file, and I want to check it back in. Okay, so anytime you open a file, you essentially check it out from the project. You can see that down here in pending, which means that these documents are checked out and are waiting to be updated. You can also note the symbol to the left of the file in the folder tree. All right, so anyone else that is in this project that tries to open up markups.pdf will only be able to open it in read-only mode. That's because it's checked out. So Bluebeam keeps track of who is working on the document. Again, you can still open it in read-only mode, but you won't be able to add any markups or anything until I check it back in. So now that I'm done adding my markups here, I can click on this icon on the tab, and I can click check in. And now it's asking me for a comment. It's always good practice to just say what you changed or what you added. So I'm going to say added cloud markup and check it back in. Okay, and so now you can see that my the symbol changed to a lock, which means that it is checked in and locked. So I can select markups, but I cannot place them. You'll notice that all of my markup tools are grayed out, so I can't do anything to this document unless I checked it out again. So let me go ahead and close that. So click save it. Oh, denied. So now that it's checked back in, if I right click on it, I can click on revision history, and which pulls up all of the changes, all of the check-ins and checkouts related to this file, going all the way back to July 2021. From this revision history window, you can open the revision or restore the revision. So if I wanted to go all the way back to the beginning, let's say let's open this. Obviously, there's still markups there, but you'll notice that my cloud is missing. And if I wanted to roll back to that one, I can just click restore, and then that will create another version 14. I'll just show you, which will tell you restored from revision 1. So I think this is one of the most useful capabilities of Studio projects, being able to have a full backup of all of the different versions and revisions of all your documents is incredibly helpful. Additionally, with the check-in, check-out system, that only one person is modifying a document at a time. You know who that person is, and you can always go back and see what it is that they changed or modified. So, and you can always roll back as well. So very useful stuff there. You'll see that these ones are still checked out. Let me open that one up, check it back in. So there's a few other different buttons. You can do undo checkout, which will essentially revert it back to the state that the file was in before you checked it out and check it back in. Updating server copy will update the file in the project without checking it back in. So if you just wanted to, make sure everyone can access the new version that you're working on, you can just click update server copy. It gives you the option to check in. If you're still working on it, you can click cancel. So let's check this one back in. I didn't change anything, so let's do that. And again, turns back to the lock. You can set Bluebeam to automatically check documents out from under the Studio tab in Preferences. You can select to attempt to check out files on open. If this is not checked, if trying to open up a document will open it up in read-only mode by default. I'll just show you how that looks. So if I open up issues, now this opens it up in read-only, and if I want to check it out, I have to go up here and do check out. And now it's checked out, and I can modify it. I can add markups, etc. Okay, and it's asking me if I closed it, so it's asking me if I want to check it back in. I also have the option of changing from a minor version to a major revision. So in this case, I didn't really do anything, so I'm just going to do undo checkout to revert it back to the original state. So you don't need to be online all the time to work in projects. For example, if I right-click and open one of the files, just open it, and I were to disconnect myself from Studio, it's going to ask if I would like to work offline. So I hit OK, and I can still, well, actually, I can't work on the document because I already checked it out, or I haven't checked it out, but I can click on edit offline, and that will kind of create a new copy. So what I really should have done is checked it out first. Let's check it out first. And then I could go offline. And now I can add markups, edit markups. So the reason I wasn't able to do that before is because I needed to tell this project that I was checking it out. So now it will keep it checked out for any other users. They know that I'm editing it, even if I'm offline. And when I come back online, it will push those changes to the project. So that's Studio Projects in a nutshell. You can create from a Studio project, you can create a Studio session. So if I have, I have all my documents in here. I wanted to bring in some project collaborators, and I wanted to discuss, one of the drawings with them. I wanted to discuss this floor plan, revision 1 floor plan. I can simply right click it, and I can click on add to new session. And it prompts me for a session name. I'm going to call this 512 session. And now on the left, you'll notice that my studio panel, that was the projects, has now changed to the session panel. So let me go ahead and close this project interface, and we'll just go over this portion real quick. So just like projects, you can set permissions for different attendees as far as what they are allowed to do with the document. So for example, if you did not want your session attendees to save the document as a local copy, you can deny them that here. You can also choose different markups, markup alerts, you add documents, or full control. Just like projects, you can restrict attendees by email address. Again, unchecking this will let anyone join with this session ID. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Again, if anyone in the audience wants to join the session, 255-430-848, be my guest.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
Hi. So, Angie was saying that she has the studio icon, but no option to join. Any tips?
The studio icon, but no is she logged in?
Good question. Angie, are you logged in?
Yeah, Angie, make sure that you are logged in to Studio. And I see some people jumping in. Nice. No one messed up my stuff. I'm just kidding. So now that some people have joined, what I can do is I can turn on or off some of these different settings. So if I turn off the markup, right now, no one can add markups. Right. So if I see Roger is in the session. Roger messing up my presentation. So let me go in here, and I'll just turn the markup back to thank you, Roger. Back to allow. I'll allow it. Okay. Yeah. So you can get pretty granular on the different permissions that you can allot to your attendees. And again, if you wanted to get even more granular, you can click on the plus button, and now you can set permissions by user. So now I can go through here and I can say, okay, this person will have full control, and this person will, for example, have markup permissions. Oops, markup permissions allow. So yeah, you can get pretty granular as far as that is concerned. You might want to add different groups for different stakeholders. For example, electrical team or design team might have different permissions. So you can set that there. You can see that. Oh yeah, thanks, Roger. I appreciate that. So yeah, so you can see how in a session, I can see exactly what is going on all the time. From the attendees panel, I can see what document everyone is looking at. And if I click on this follow attendee button from the attendees panel, this will let me follow that user's or that attendee's markups and everything. So I can see what they're doing in real time. I can do that with all the users. Obviously, you can only see one person. You only follow one person at a time. But that makes sense. Over here is the documents panel. So right now there's only one document uploaded to the session, but to add more, I would just simply click add file, and it will prompt me to upload an additional file. Someone asked, as the administrator for the session, are you able to delete or adjust markups from others? No, actually, you're not. Only the person that created the markup is able to modify it. And that's really, that's done to maintain integrity in the document. Just because you want to make sure that this person made this markup and only this person can change this markup. We don't necessarily want changes being attributed to the wrong person or anything like that. There are some workarounds if you really needed to, but yeah, for the most part, only the person that added the markup in the session can edit the markup. So for example, if I pull up my markup list, right, I can see from the author column, I can see the different markups that everyone created, right? So you want to be able to make sure that that records are maintained, right? So yeah, you are not able to edit someone else's markups in the session, only your own. See, I can't make any changes here. There's another question. What other types of files can be uploaded to a session or project? So only PDFs can be worked on in a session, which I think makes sense because Bluebeam is PDF based. Obviously, you can't necessarily upload a DWG or AutoCAD file to this interface. However, in a project, you can upload any kind of file. So a project is anything. Sessions are just PDFs. Of course, if you did upload a AutoCAD drawing to a project, it's not going to open in Bluebeam. It's going to open in AutoCAD, but it will be able to be stored on the server. Alfredo, unfortunately, he asked about a 3D example. I don't have a 3D example off at the ready. That's a good question. If I have time, I might I'll try to find one. But yeah, I'll get a little bit further and we'll see see what I can do. Now, underneath the documents panel, I have my record panel, as well as different tabs for notifications and for pending activity. But really, in the records panel, you see all of the anything that's happened in the session since the beginning, right? So you see I joined, I added a document, a bunch of other users joined. If I click on a markup that was added, it will take me right there, right? So clicking on this one takes me there. Thank you, Roger. So very useful. Thanks, Roger. Thank you, Roger. Maybe after this, I'll be able to. How can you completely remove an attendee from attendees list? We can't seem to find a way to do this. If you wanted to remove an attendee from the attendee list, you would go and deny that user. You also might want to go to your studio interface in the web, which I can show you that right now. So Studio has a web interface. If you go to studio.bluebeam.com, Let's log in here. This is the problem with answering questions from the chat. Now I'm totally off script, but but this is a good question. So you can also access your studio sessions from the web interface, which will look something like this for you guys. So you can see that this is my my session that just created. If I click on that, I can go to attendees and get a list of the attendees. I can also go to restricted users and see a list of restricted users. And you can also manage your documents as well. So you should be able to modify the attendees from here. Maybe we can connect after this webinar and I can help you out with that. What is the difference between project and session in terms of functionality? As we discussed, studio projects are kind of a document repository. Studio sessions are this live collaboration environment, right? Where I can see what all these users are doing. Roger says I deserve a break. One thing to note, let's say I made a markup. So I made a bunch of these markups. And I wanted one of my attendees to make a note of it or to take a look at it. What I can do is I can, let's say, we add a call out here. I'll check this. And if I right click on that markup, I can select alert attendee. And then I can choose who the attendee I want to alert and click OK. And then that will send them a notice in their notifications tab that they, I want them to either look at something or whatever. You can also see that in the record list that I alerted Roger to the call out. I see Roger's adding his own call out. Possibly in response to mine. That's a window mulligan. So one other way to reply to a markup is if I right click and hit reply. It's a window mulligan. So now I've replied to this markup and you can see that in my markups list. Right, so clicking on my reply takes me to the comment over here. You can also reply to a reply and so on and so forth. Just a good way to keep that all organized is in the markups list, which is subject to another webinar. So do PDF files need to be in projects to be loaded to sessions, or they can be loaded directly from our project file? No, you can upload them directly. That doesn't need to be in a project to be in a session. So you can do it either way. It's just there is that integration with projects and sessions. So you may have addressed this already. Do you need your own studio license in order to join? Does Bluebeam Studio join functionality require different, or is it already part of the install? Okay, so yeah, great question, Mike. He's wondering if you need a license for Studio or what the licensing situation with that is. So here's the deal. If you have a Bluebeam license, you have access to Bluebeam Studio. It comes included. It's no additional cost for any of this. And on top of that, if you invite someone to a session that does not have a license to review, they still are able to participate in the session, right? So, any third parties or contractors that you want to invite to collaborate, you can feel free to do so. They do not need a license. You do not need to give them a license. They will have full access to Bluebeam tools and markups within that session. So no worries about having to, add any additional licenses or additional costs or anything anything like that. Again, this is all included in the regular base purchase of a Bluebeam license. Can you track changes? Jay's asking, can you track changes on a PDF to easily see what's changed or get alerts if new markups are added? Yeah, absolutely. So in a session, you can see this over here in the record panel that I can go back and I can see all of the markups that were being added and moved, of course. Anything that happens to them, you'll see over here. In addition, you have the option of clicking on this report button, which will give you different options for creating reports on the session, right? So if I wanted to see, for example, just a record summary, and I'm just going to keep everything default, hit OK, save, and this creates a session report. Right, and this goes over everything that's happened in the session. Of course, you might have seen in that dialog box, I can filter it. If I don't necessarily want to see anytime someone is joining, for example, I can filter that and only see what I want to see. You can also do that with the filter button in the studio panel. So if I didn't want to see those attendees records, I can get rid of that, make it a little bit more streamlined. So you can also work on a studio session offline. So once I have it loaded, I can click on this and I'm going to disconnect myself. So now I'm disconnected. You can see everything is grayed out offline, and I can still add markups. Right now, you can see in my pending tab all of these markups. Oh, I guess I was pasting it. So once I go back online, these will get pushed to the live document. So now I'm back online, and you can see that all of my markups were added. Where is the report button? Good question, Colby. The report button is right next to the chat box. So it's this little button with 3 lines on it. And so you click that, and that should open up this dialog box. So once we're done, now that we're done with the session, everyone's added their markups, and we're all happy with what we've done. We need to finish the session. So clicking on the session button over here and clicking finish session, this asks me what I want to do with this resulting file, right? So I can save it in a folder. Another good option is to create a session subfolder. For example, Colby, I think you might not have access to it because of I'm the admin. So I believe that's the case. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Here we go. And let me give you. All right. Let me know if you can. Let me know if you can do that. If you can do the report. Or you can also test it by creating. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was permissions. I had to give him permissions in order to let him make a report. By default, it is an admin only functionality. So again, now that I'm done with the session, I'm going to click finish session. I like to use the session subfolder. If you have a network drive with pre-existing folder structure, you can click on the session subfolder, and then this creates a new subfolder specifically for the documents in this session. All right, and I also get the option to automatically generate a report. If I click settings, let's do I like the PDF package report. So the session is now finished. Thanks for everyone's contribution. Okay. And now let me pull up that session Oh, sorry, bear with me. Oh, whoops. Okay. So this is the PDF package report from the session, right? So this is because I selected that PDF report. So now I have the report file here. And I also have the documents accessible here. So it's a nice way to keep everything kind of self-contained. And what's nice about that package report is if I click on any of the markups, they are hyperlinked to the document. So if I wanted to see, see this call out, go there, and then it takes me right there.